And now, time to get in the huddle with your host, Charles Pride Ritchie, here on the Mass Steel Podcast.
This thing belongs to Mr. Roney, belongs here, and let's see if we can bring this damn thing back here next year, along with the Super Bowl. Here we go.
The game is over. The Pittsburgh Steelers did it the hard way.
With the 10th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Devin Bush, linebacker, Michigan.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. Well, of course, yours truly, Charles Pride Ritchie here, as we are kicking off right now the last remaining final 2 days of March. As not only that, we're going to be recapping so far the recent Steelers transactions this past weekend. Also, who has been your favorite signing so far and your worst release that's been a little bit disheartening, to say the least. And again, I hope everyone is continuing to stay home, be safe throughout this COVID-19 crisis, and everybody's continuing to practice social distancing. And I hope everyone's doing all right. Again, if you guys want to hit up the number tonight, the phone lines for text and dialing in is 312-209-2232. Again, that number to be reached is 312-209-2232. You can follow me on Twitter at Praj Ritchie, at Masteel CJR, at OnDeck CSR. Then you can also follow me on Instagram at Praj Ritchie, at Masteel Nation, at OnDeck CSR, my YouTube live channel, Men of Steel Podcast, and for all the latest Men of Steel podcasts, and of course my other show that you hear me doing on Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com on deck, aka CSR. You can also check me out on my Mixcloud and Anchor platforms, Charles Pride Ritchie from Mixcloud, and then you can also check me out on Anchor, which is also tied in, as I made an announcement this past Saturday, as I am not only connected with Spotify, but you can also hear me on, let's see, you can also catch me on Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Cast. So make sure to check out those platforms too. Again, Anchor, which is Crunch Time with Charles Pride Ritchie, which includes platforms like Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and Pocket Cast for all the latest Mass Steel podcasts, which will be put on those platforms later on. Hope everyone's having a great, fantastic day so far. And as we get ready to move along right now and hear the latest Steelers news that's been made officially announced today on Steelers.com by Steelers writer Teresa Varley, who can be followed on Twitter at Teresa Varley. The Steelers have officially signed 3 players from the XFL, which is right now defensive end Dwayne Hendricks, safety Tyree Cannell. Then you also got a long snapper who also played linebacker in his career. And we're talking about none other than Christian Kuntz. They've been signed to 1-year contracts. Let's begin first and foremost with Christian Kuntz, who actually played at Duquesne University. He finished with a school record of 30.5 sacks, winning 2 Northeast Conference Defensive Player of the Year awards, and is the only player in school history to earn All-American honors. Kuntz was signed by the Steelers during the preseason last year and has spent time on the Broncos practice squad in 2018 and then to the Jaguars practice squad, and where he signed a futures deal at the end of 2018. And why is it so notable right now? Well, I mean, these could probably be guys that could probably more than likely end up on their practice squad when they make their cuts for the initial start of the season. As everyone is aware of the Steelers' style when it comes to making these cuts right now. As we take a look at the current cap situation right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as of right now, they're currently about $4.18 million over the cap. And with their estimated cap space, which includes the top 51, they about close to about $6 million of breathing room when you include the top 51, which by that time, remember, that starts during the start of the new league year, but then by the final weekend of the preseason, after the preseason concludes, which is usually Labor Day weekend. So they got some wiggle room, to say the least, right now for the time being. And that's coming up from Spotrac.com right there, who's actually calculating all these values right now. But we do got some other players we're going to get into towards the end of the show as we take a look at it. And some guys are right now who are going to be entering in the final year of their contracts right now. And we got 10 starters right now as it stands for that. We'll get into that a little bit later on fair or foul. And these are the guys we're going to be talking about. So basically 10 stars you're going to be having right now as we take a look at it. You're going to be having 5 on offense and on defense. So we'll get into those names a little bit later on. Like I said, I do want to hear how you guys feel right now. The nagging question, the elephant in the room still seems to be, will the Steelers be intrigued to sign a backup quarterback behind Ben Roethlisberger? How you guys feel right now about Mason Rudolph? Are you guys comfortable? Do you guys want to let him finish out his rookie contract? Remember, he was drafted in 2018, so if you want to gut out with him for at least 2 more seasons backing him up, what do you guys think? Doesn't he need a little bit more competition to truly earn that number 2 spot? That seems to be the biggest question of the day. Again, I want to hear your comments, thoughts. Say hello to a few people right now. Danielle Gonzalez right now. She has joined right now. Hey, Danielle, I hope everything's going well for you. I hope you and everyone's staying safe right now. Hope you're doing well. And like I said, I hope everyone, like I said, once again, just prayers, love, and deep thoughts for a lot of people who are all going through this. But I tell you what, one thing, if I've learned in the media field right now that I enjoy, it's really a beautiful thing right now. I mean, it sucks. I mean, a lot of people may feel like they got nowhere to go. They may be trapped. But for all the people who do got families and people in the media, just shining examples, I don't care what the situation is. It just goes to show you, if you just take care of core basics first and foremost, beginning with yourself and the people you have in the picture, it proves that we could do this anyway. And it's a real big, depressing but yet humbling time at the same time too. It really does make us reevaluate things in a different light. And with that, I can't help but be so proud. I just saw one on LinkedIn earlier today, and it was with Tony Gonzalez. There's many athletes around the league. You also saw, I believe, current heavyweight and UFC, Daniel Cormier, DC, by the way, who also made an appearance in that video, I want to say. But it's just really beautiful what you see guys doing in their spare time, where it's guys like Drew Brees. And I even mentioned on my last show, I said at the end of my on-deck show that I usually have on Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m., who do you guys feel like is your true MVP right now? When we get back into the sports topic, who do you think is a true MVP all around, not just for their sport, but for the good of people and in a public light? One guy who I did say I went with rookie Zion Williamson right now, who's actually who's sacrificing a month of his salary to help out like the vendors with the New Orleans Pelicans right now. And I think that was just a very good way to start. I mean, this is a guy right here who has been a little bit inconsistently healthy, to say the least. I mean, starting off, but I mean, he's been there for his team every now and then. I mean, he has that nagging knee issue he has to deal with time to time. But I look at a guy right there, and when you see like how much he's trying to help out his community, and when you have a guy like Drew Brees in your corner too, who's trying to help make sure he has a good NBA career, when you speak to the volume of what a man is, I think that is just so beautiful right there. And I think he definitely is on the right start so far as a role model to this league. I mean, you talk about LeBron James, who's always going to be a class in his own when it comes to areas like this. And I really do believe that. I just feel right now, I mean, that's one guy, a guy who's like hungry to like have a good career in this league, but also realize to be a man of the people. And I think that is just so very important at this time when you have things all considered. And I just think those are beautiful things. So let's get right back to the topics at hand right now. I just started off, like I said, the very first guy who I just mentioned was Christian Kuntz. I got to be honest with you, this one sounds like an intriguing name so far because right here, Christian Kuntz right now, I mean, it's very intriguing how he could play long snapper, but will he be one of those guys where he can be used as a multi-purpose situation position where time calls upon, where he plays not only offensive line, but some defense? I think that is a very decent signing right there because there are some other XFL players we're going to get into in just a second, but I'm going to finish off with the ones that Teresa Varley did announce that they made 1-year deals right now, to say the least. And here's the next one up we got. So after Christian Kuntz right now, let's look at safety Tyree Cannell. Tyree Cannell right now, who's 23, he finished the shortened XFL season with 16 tackles. He entered the NFL as an undrafted free agent last year with the Bengals. And in 4 seasons at Michigan, Cannell made 154 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, a sack, 2 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups. That is a story on Cannell right there. And I think that would be a good pairing right there, too. I mean, you got Devin Bush right there, who's obviously going to probably be more than likely the future of this team as your linebacker. I mean, since you finally got the inside linebacker they missed out on the year before, I mean, 2 years ago at this point, man, how time flies by so fast. But I think if you could surround more guys from his alma mater, I think I would like that idea. I think that will definitely be a nice youth movement for this defense and just guys that he could click with. And I think he's doing a phenomenal job right now learning. And like I said, I really believe the Steelers did the right thing with easing him in there. I didn't want to see this guy get rushed into anything. Have him be like a sponge. Have him learn behind Mark Barron. Mark Barron, who actually was one of the releases as we looked at it. But, yeah, I just feel right now they're definitely been doing their homework. And the Steelers right now, who've been doing a good job just coming to the table here and hopping on some of these prospects here. Because another one, too, that Teresa Varley reports on here, the very first name I mentioned, too, aside from that, you got defensive end Dwayne Hendricks. Now, Dwayne Hendricks, he played college football at the University of Pittsburgh, and he played for the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL. Well, with the Battlehawks, he had 4 tackles and 1 sack, and the quarterback, Hurry. He was signed to the Dolphins practice squad, but released on October 7th last season, and he spent time with the Jaguars and the Bears on their practice squads following his release. He finished his career at Pitt with 50 tackles, including 10 for loss, 7.5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. Now, here are the other names I was talking about earlier, too, aside from those guys. You also got right now, you got tackle Jerron Jones of the New York Guardians, defensive end Kayvon Walker, and then you also got right now, too, and those were the other guys right there. But I mean, let's get into Jaron Jones right now. Jaron Jones, he was right now, I mean, he's been a decent tackle. He was initially a defensive tackle when he signed as an undrafted free agent with the Giants in 2017, but he was converted to offensive lineman. Another guy who's probably like a multi-position guy that it could be proved invaluable down the line if he gets a call. He signed with the Seahawks practice squad. Later that year in 2017, he had spent time on the Cowboys and Bucks practice squad. Walker, on the other hand, this is another intriguing one right here, and I think this is like one of my favorites so far. He led the XFL with 19 led the XFL with sacks. I forget exactly how much. 5 for a loss and 9 quarterback hits in the XFL season. And I think that is definitely very impressive right there. Get ready to reconfirm his stat number right now as we look at it. So please bear with me. Had one thing misnoted. But those are what you guys see right there. And K'Von Walker, he had 4.5 sacks. He led the XFL with. So there you have it. So those are indecent signings right there. I mean, talk about how much wiggle room the Steelers team was going to have with the cap. I said time before, and I'll say it again. I believe just the biggest free agent out, everybody they can have around for this team is having Kevin Colbert extended at least through by the end of next year's draft. Obviously, there was reports out there last offseason that it was going to expire in this year's draft. Now he's around with, like I said, Director of Business Personnel, Omar Khan, on the business side. I think that is just huge right there because those guys right there, I mean, $4 million over the cap, this is going to be like a cakewalk. Trust me when I say this, as far as like getting some positive wiggle room in that salary cap. That's nothing for them. I just feel like when you got stability in the front office, that's all I need to know. Obviously, the other story is going to be Ben Roethlisberger. How's he going to recover from his throwing elbow surgery? And can you still continue to depend on a guy like Mason Rudolph? I mean, I'm not so sure if you can make the case like with Devlin Hodges right now, but I do feel like right at this point in time, you have to evaluate everything. You can't take nothing for granted. The only thing is, too, when I look at a guy like a Jameis Winston, and I was taking a look at this yesterday, and you also got Cam Newton, too, who's also going to be without a home for right now, which I really found disappointing that he's not going to be on here. I mean, let's take a look at the quarterback breakdowns right now for quarterbacks who are trying to find their homes. When I'm talking about Cam Newton and Jameis Winston, you got a guy right now, Cam Newton, who has the second best touchdown interception ratio behind James. I mean, no, excuse me. Never mind. So versus him and Cam Newton has got the better touchdown interception ratio of 1.7. Usually 2 is for very good. And usually once you get I want to say 3.5 or 4, that's usually like an elite class right there. So that's pretty good. I mean, and you look at his total career when he was there with the Panthers, he's only accumulated 291 sacks in 9 seasons. I mean, obviously you want to see that get slowed down a little bit, but versus a guy like Marcus Mariota right now, who's actually got sacked 169 times, and his touchdown interception ratio is 1.38. Right now, when we look at a guy like Jameis Winston, the market value for him right now is 4 years at about over $107 million. So his average annual salary will be about $26.80 million per year. But do you think it's possible that they could probably get something like on a cheap deal right there? Obviously, you cannot trade for him. You're not going to have any value of significant. You got to sign this guy, or whoever does. Not necessarily the Steelers, but in general. I got to be honest with you. If he doesn't come, if the Steelers don't hop on this guy like Cam Newton or probably like Jameis Winston, who's to say that he may not go somewhere like maybe to like New England? I mean, right now, life without Tom Brady. And then you also got probably the Baltimore Ravens backing up Lamar Jackson. Those are things to think about right there. Obviously, you want to have some quality depth. I don't think you want to be falling asleep at the wheel, so to speak. I'm not saying that's what the Steelers are doing, but you also want to wise up at this point in time. And you just got to, I don't think you want to take any risks or chances where you're going to turn the blind eye on this and nothing's going to happen. That's not the way you want to do things. You want to be observant at this time. But at the same time, like I said, you got Kevin Colbert and Amor Khan working together for like at least another year. I mean, Kevin Colbert's been saying before that he wants to go on year-to-year basis when it comes to his contract with the Steelers as far as being the vice president GM. And that's fine. And I have total much respect for that. And he's earned that right. I mean, he's done this. He's been going into his 21st season, for crying out loud. And I just feel like right now, if he decides to hang it up and decides to move on, he's earned that right. And I don't think he owes the Steelers anything. I mean, unless he just wants to have that third and elusive Super Bowl ring to add to like his run. Because remember, I mean, he'll be the second winningest GM with 2. When you had a guy, I think it was Dick Haley, who had 4. I mean, obviously you got Dan Rooney, the son of the chief, Art Rooney, who's got the most rings in the organization. But as far as executive, come on. That's who we're talking about right here. Again, for those of you just tuning in, I want to welcome you guys to the Men of Steel podcast. If you guys want to dial in or text in tonight, the number is 312-209-2232. Again, that is 312-209-2232. You can find me streaming live on my Facebook page right now currently. You can just type in Men of Steel podcast. You also check me streaming live on my Instagram at Men of Steel Nation and YouTube Men of Steel podcast, as we are just getting started right now as we continue to move along here. And let's take a look at an article that was written today by Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, who will be followed at RayFit1. And as everyone is realizing, too, that the draft right now at this point is going to definitely be done remotely. It's going to be televised in such a way. And there's not going to be any teammates, coaches, or anyone in person or any families. I mean, obviously understood with everything that's been happening out here with the virus and the sickness that's been spraying around. But I feel right now the Steelers are doing the right thing. They're definitely keeping their concentration on free agency. I mean, they did say recently that they're done on free agency, but yet you got your scouting right here who wants to keep a sharp eye on here as far as like the draft. And I think they're doing the right thing here. I mean, when you think about it, I definitely feel right now that it's just all options are on the table. If they do add some other free agents, it's going to be some guys that are going to probably be for future reserves contracts, more than likely. That seems to be like the theme here going on right now as we wind it up here and look at it. So let's look at some other pieces here as we look at it, too. And don't forget, too, I mean, aside from Kevin Colbert and Omar Khan, I mean, within the ownership group, I mean, you got Brandon Hutt, who's one of your pro scouting coordinators. Remember, he was one of the other names, too, that was found as a possible suitor to maybe possibly succeed Kevin Colbert if he decided to walk away. Obviously, that's not happening this year, but just down the line, I think just for consideration, if they had to get another secure guy that could run the office and just be a guy right here to keep the ship rolling with the Steelers, and I definitely do feel that is a wise thing to consider here. But, I mean, the biggest thing right now, and what Ray Fittipaldo is mentioning right now, I mean, here are the guys right now. Let's hit up into it right now, fair or foul. And these are the guys right now, beginning on offense, we're going to start off with. So you got Juju Smith-Schuster, Ryan Switzer, Matt Filer, James Conner, and Alejandro Villanueva right there. So all those guys right there, and here are the cap hits for those guys in that order from that. You got right now, you got Alejandro Villanueva for this year. His cap hit for coming up for this year is going to be $8.39 million. Then you also got $3.26 million for Matt Filer, $1.34 for Juju Smith-Schuster, and $825,000 for Ryan Switzer. Those are your cap hits for this year. Obviously, they won't be counting in for dead money, I believe, until next year. But that's the situation you got at hand for the time being. And that's what we're looking at for right now. I think if anyone who may be on his last year or may see his final days, unless he finds a way to get healthy, I got to probably say James Conner. Love his story. Love everything he's meant to this organization. But you haven't had a guy since Le'Veon Bell here who's proved legitimately that he can be on the field for a lot more and produce more better on a consistent basis. I'm not saying that James Conner ain't, but I do get this feeling kind of like in a situation like Cam Newton, he's been a guy who, since that Thursday night game in 2018, he has not been the same James Conner that we saw booming starting off the season. I mean, I believe James Conner, who's been a Pro Bowler in his career, I mean, with the Steelers organization and for the team, I mean, he's tried. I mean, he's done solid so far. But I think last year, too, I mean, obviously a lot of things don't help when you have Ben Roethlisberger, who's out for the season. I mean, his Pro Bowl year came in 2018, and he had 1,470 yards of scrimmage with 973 yards rushing, which also included 497 receiving yards. And he has a total of 13 touchdowns. Only one touchdown came from the receiving end for a guy like James Conner. And that's been the biggest thing. As of 2019, when they were deciding to split the ball with three backs, his production nearly got cut in half. He got 715 scrimmage yards with 7 touchdowns, with 4 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns. So his running touchdowns took a big dip. I mean, from that year, it dropped down to about 8. That's about a big concern right there. So that was another scenario you had to take a look at right there. So I gotta believe that the Steelers right now, you have to look at a running back and see who they could find. And here is Ray Filippo's mock draft for a free agency edition. He's got running back Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin, who's listed at 5'10", 226 pounds. He's just a little bit smaller than James Conner, but Ray Filippo does go on to say that Steelers should go for a receiver offensive tackle here, but this is about they are making a renewed commitment to the running game. Art Rooney II issued a challenge to the coaching staff after the season. It's also quite possible that Taylor or another running back could represent the best value in this portion of the draft. I mean, they have been pushed down draft boards on recent years. But, I mean, when you think about it, too, I mean, what the situation you got on hand here, again, are you going to go for the best available or something that you're going to need? And I definitely do feel like it's going to still probably more than likely be the best available at this point. I definitely don't feel right now that the Steelers are going to be shooting the gun and be trigger happy and go for a move that's not going to suit everyone. And I look at a guy right here, I mean, for him, and I think that's a decent pick right there by Ray Filippo. As we look at it, I mean, let's face it, I mean, the combine wasn't too long ago. It was like earlier this month. Surprised that was able to go on somehow. I mean, before everything started getting chaos with the coronavirus. But as we look at it here for the 2020 draft prospects here, you got on here for the running backs. And he did mention Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, by the way, who actually had a combine grade of 6.46. And 6.46, according to that scale, should become an instant starter. Jonathan Taylor, he rushed overall for his time in his career at the University of Wisconsin, 926 rushing attempts for 6,174 yards. And he has a total scrimmage yards of 6,581 of 968 total touches, 55 touchdowns. So this guy is pretty much like a scoring machine on the running game. And I tell you what, I mean, that won't be a bad selection. But when you're drafting, I think it was like about 49th overall in the draft for this year for their second round pick, which would be 49th overall, the 17th pick of the draft in your top 100. Another guy you could look at too and see if they could probably drop to him. I probably look at a guy like Zach Moss from the University of Utah, who comes from the Pac-12 conference. He has 4,067 yards, 5.7 yards average. He's got 778 yards scrimmage in 4 seasons. So that's another guy you can take a look at too. Or from the defending national champions, LSU, you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's actually accumulated right now 2,103 yards in his 3 years rushing, 595 yards receiving, and a scrimmage of 2,698. His combine grade is 6.42. So pretty much in the same boat as Taylor and Helaire should become instant starters. Those are some other options right there. If you're going to be looking at running back, I would think. And those would be like my other choices I'd be looking at. And I gotta believe right now, how are you going to continue to build around Ben Roethlisberger when he gets back healthy, and how you're going to be able to like line up the pieces here. So those are the things right now. Again, the number if you guys want to dial in or text, it is 312-209-2232. Again, that is 312-209-2232. Again, that can be followed on Twitter at Praj Richie, at Mestiel CJR, at OnDeckCSR, Instagram, Mestiel Nation, at Praj Richie, at OnDeckCSR, YouTube channel, which I'm streaming live off on, Mestiel Podcast, and so forth as we look further. Also, too, in this article right now, for their next pick, which would be out of the top 100, he's got their third pick in the draft for the Steelers, which would be in the third round, 102nd overall. He's got the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting offensive tackle Ben Bartch out of St. John's. I mean, this is the portion of the draft where the Steelers have searched for developmental tackles in recent years. At Villanueva, by the way, as we're looking at it on Fair or Foul right now, I mean, he's one of the guys who's entering in the foul year of his contract more as someone's going to be needed to be groomed right now. And like I said, you got Stefan Wisniewski. I don't know if he's going to necessarily be the answer for the replacing Ramon Foster, but I mean, they made some smart choices. Obviously, it's not eye-grabbing, but I definitely feel like they got positions of need when you start this year. And consider the guys who you lost and parted ways with. I mean, and this is where I feel like they definitely picked it up, and they definitely did their homework, and were able to just go out there and just pay attention and grab and get the pieces they need. And then for their fourth pick of the draft, which is 124th overall, he's got Anthony Jennings out of Alabama. But, I mean, since they can't work out of schools, Jennings might fall in the draft, which would be ideal for the Steelers, who need quality depth and someone to groom behind Dupree. And Anthony Jennings, as far as linebacker as that is concerned, Anthony, he was out of Alabama. Here is his combine grade. He has a 6.35. Another guy who should become an instant starter. he had for his tackles, he had 193 total tackles in his 5 seasons, 4 of which he played. Produced 14 and a half sacks, 2 interceptions for 8 yards returned. And he's gotten 3 forced fumbles in his overall tenure. So, I mean, that's another guy you could put on there as far as like on the bucket list. But what say you guys? I mean, and then let's also take a look at the rest of his draft right now. As we got right now, he's got a receiver here for this. Rafael Apollo has got the Steelers gain Devin Durnay. He's going to be a wide receiver here, who right now who is a former state track champion in Texas. He must polish his route running skills, but is a savvy player and can find the home in the slot with big play potential. Number 6, 199th overall. He's got Shaquille Corman out of Miami, who's 6 feet, 234 pounds. And he notes that with the losses of guys like Matt Cage and Barron, and with Vince Williams turning 30, the Steelers had to build up the depth again at inside linebacker. Corman was a 4-year starter for the Hurricanes and can add value as a backup and special teams contributor as a rookie. So that's another guy right there. And then last but not least, their final pick of the draft, he's got safety Geno Stone, 5'10", 207 pounds, out of Iowa. And he definitely feels like they need to be adding quality depth at safety behind star Mika Fitzpatrick and Terrell Edmonds. And he played at Newcastle High School, might not be an elite athlete, but impressed during his 2 seasons as a star for the Hawkeyes. And there you have it. And that's Rafael Apollo's draft. Once again, you can follow him on his Twitter account at RayFit1 as we look at more stuff going into there. And once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone tuning in here on the Metal Steel Podcast. Like I said, I hope everyone is doing well and find a way to make their times decent and get through this. And like I said, it was always a pleasure putting on a show for you guys and keeping you informed and the latest what's happening in Steeler news. As always, leave it. Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.